Hi, this is Stephen Bolgiano with Fairs M.I, and this is a video demo, and this question was sent in to us by Bert at the Pima County Fairground concerning creating utility maps. Fairs M.I is able to create custom overlays of utility maps from civil engineering and other surveying sources. And here we can see at the Canadian National Exhibition facility that we've created these layered maps of various utility types that include connection lines, symbols, and symbol keys, all based on conventional engineering drawing formats. With our layered utility maps, we can show the different utility types individually or the cumulative effect of all the utilities layered on top of each other, creating the total infrastructure network. Bert at the Pima County Fair's question was, what do you do when you don't have those resources of mapping and you want to document the various infrastructure locations on your facility? And Fairs M.I has a solution for that. Now, I wanted to go ahead and use the Pima County Fair as an example of this so that we could go ahead and really identify something that was meaningful to Bert. So I started by going ahead and making an interactive map of the Pima County Fair. You can see here that we've got various Arizona Fairs Association maps. As I click on the map I created, the overview map, we can see that it is the largest view that includes all the peripheral areas of the facility. This isn't always the most functional way to create work, so when we do a Fairs M.I subscription, we actually create a subsection, closer views, that allow us to work more conveniently. Here we're going to go ahead and show you a first close-up view, which is still fairly large. So now let's go ahead and look at the next close-up view I made, which is just a little bit tighter view, makes it a little more convenient for working on. Now, in terms of creating the utility map, we start by making a pod. All of the layouts created with Fairs M.I are created as pods or groups. Here I've made the smallest pod I can by one row, one aisle, and it just creates two booths. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag the pod down in the corner, and I'm going to label one of the booths as the pod label. So this later on, when we start creating multiple types of utilities on the same map, will allow us to identify a particular group. Now this will be used later in order to export these to the larger map. Now I've paused the video for a second for something really important. Here in the lower left-hand corner, you can see the pointer is on this asterisk sign, which is your controls for rotation of the booth, but more importantly, symbols, colors, and custom objects that can be used to replace the common white square used for booths. What you're going to see me do is to click on that asterisk, pick from the list, and first I'm going to color my pod label red and make the text of the pod label white. The other thing I'm going to do is to create a red square that will represent the connection nodes for my utility. So as we get started on our icon list, you can see we drop down all the different objects. We pick red line, which actually creates a solid red color. We'll use it later for lines. Now we're going to go ahead and make the text white. Now before we can move this, we have to click that single booth move, which allows objects to move or locks them into place when we're labeling. Now I've gone ahead and drug the larger booth into place so we can spot it easily when we zoom in. Please note that the scaling happens from the upper left-hand corner out. So when you are dropping this booth into place, put the upper left-hand corner exactly where you'd like to place the connection node between the lines. Later on, we can label exactly what kind of node this is. But you can see we've made an 8x8 booth. It's white and it's a little bit hard to spot. So we're going to go to our icon list. We're going to go back down to that red line and we're going to click on it. and there we have a little bit easier to spot. You can notice that the booth number we've labeled as W. We can actually label those as pipe sizes too, a W4 or a W8, something like that, to allow us to understand that. But since they're connection nodes, they may have multiple connections. So we're going to save that labeling for the actual line. You can see that when I click New on a single icon, it creates copies, and then we can drag them into place. Now I'm going to click New again, and this one I'm going to convert into our pipeline. The length is always the up and down, and the width is always the left to right. So I've made a 5-foot length and a 200-foot width. Now in this case, it's the length of the pipe, and we've labeled it W4 for an 4-inch pipe. Now you'll see how quick this is. You really don't have to know the exact length, because all you have to do is take a guess. Go ahead and click it again. I went 230 feet. That's not quite enough. There's 235, and not quite enough again. So we're going to go ahead and make it 240. That's pretty good. We can even make it more exact if we like. Now the one thing you'll notice is that our pipe links now provide us lengths later on for reference between the various nodes. Now I went and used the rotation control to rotate it in between the two nodes. I'm going to make another pipe length, and I'm going to go ahead and drop that in. Now we're going to have to reduce the length of that one. Again, it's just as easy to take a guess. It takes 10 seconds to zero in. I went 140. That's too short. So let's make it a little longer. 170. Pretty good. Maybe we want to make it a little less. Now I'm rotating it. Now it's always an absolute rotation. So that 5 degrees, when I go back, if I want to rotate it again, it isn't 5 more. It's always that angle that I'm describing. So I'm going to go ahead and shorten this a little bit just to make it more accurate. And I may go ahead and rotate it. I'm going to pull it into place. It's not too bad, so I may just leave it there like that. Let's see. Try a little bit less. Okay, and there's our angle. Again, now we have described the length of the pipe and the width of the pipe. We've described the connection nodes. I'm going to go ahead and make another pipe length. Go ahead and take a guess. A little bit long, but I'm going to go ahead and rotate it. Now it's probably the best way is to go ahead and rotate it first, so then when you make your length adjustments, it is lengthening up or down in between that node, and you get your most accurate pipe length. Now I'm just doing some minor adjustments. Now let's go ahead and change this one node, because this node may be a junction box or something with more important information to it. So I'm going to go ahead and make it orange. And just that lets me know that it's going to come up with some more information that's important. Now you can use whatever colors you like. We can even create more colors or more symbols. But right now I'm going to go ahead and label this with our planner. And it's going to be labeled a utility access. And then I'm going to go ahead in the company products description. I'm going to go ahead and put in what it does. And so this will make it easier to have a very quick reference to what all is involved in that particular utility node. I'm going ahead and made it a clean out junction and a shut-off valve, and let's see, maybe a meter is in there. But again, it lets me know where there's an important thing there. Later on, we'll go ahead and add some more info into this node. I hit OK. And then when I click on that node, it provides me information about that. Again, when we click on one of the pipe lengths, it can tell us the length, tell us the type of pipe it is. So now I'm going to go ahead and change the pipe size and change the color. So I change the label on it. I go down and choose a different color. I'm going to go ahead and rotate it. And drag it up to our connection node. And now you can see we start creating a pattern of the various pipe sizes. Now one of the things we can do is this will demonstrate how we can actually we're going to make a copy here, a large copy, but we can label with conventional type of safety symbols and various types of engineering symbols. Here's an electric shock symbol, but again, you can provide us with symbols that you want to use for this mapping, and typically within 24 hours that will be put up on your list. Let's go ahead and change the symbol type here. We're going to go ahead and put a circle on it. So there's a red circle. You can see it's a little bit harder to see. So I think when we create utility symbols, we'll use solid colors or solid patterns. There's a red box, but again, it demonstrates just going to your list and how easy it is to swap out these various symbol descriptions. So now we're going to go ahead and click on Files and save it. Now, one of the advantages, not only to saving it so that you have a record of it, but we can now transfer this to our larger map, and we can create from these sub maps a overall collection of utilities on the larger map. Once we've made a utility layout and we've saved the file, the next thing we want to do is to make a note of where that pod handle, we call it, is. That's that triangle that controls the entire group. Here's the pod label and pod handle. Now, knowing where that location is, when we go to the larger map, and then we go ahead to our files and load the drawing that we created, it will place it up at the upper left-hand corner. See, now we're going to grab that triangle and it will drag the layout. So if we put it in place to where it was on the close-up map, then it will be correctly positioned on our larger map, as you can see as we zoom in. So now we can add various different pods or collections of utility layouts and combine them onto one large map. Now all this brings us full circle to those layered utility maps that we saw in the beginning. Fairs M.I can take your utility maps that you build by hand and use them to recreate as the programmed layout maps in layers that we saw in the very beginning of this demo. Now I've got one last afterthought on this, and that is that when we have these utility nodes or connection points, that we can actually use our sales planner and identify a GPS point for that exact location, that we can go on site and use a GPS locator to generate the coordinates, and we can actually enter this into our sales planner. And so in this way, although your location nodes will be, of course, approximate, very close, but approximate, the GPS will let you know exactly where your location is for these points, and so that you can use the layer maps for reference or the manual maps for reference, but you'll also have the exact digging location or possibly a pipe stand location that is an old discovery out in the middle of a tall field. You'll be able to locate that before you do your bush hogging, or just to locate it in an area where it's not so obvious. So thanks a lot. I appreciate you tuning in, and I hope this is a help. This is Stephen with Fairs M.I. You can call me anytime at 443-235-1344. Thanks.